Alright, so we got a lot of word problems, okay? I know how much you love word problems because you like to read, okay? So you have to think carefully in these word problems. There were 331 students went on a field trip. 6 buses were filled and 7 students traveled in cars. How many students were in each bus? So we got to set this up as an equation. Now ultimately we want it to look like this. We want it to look like either y equals mx plus b or mx plus b equals y. Now this will make more sense here in a minute. You learned a little bit about m and b last year. M is your slope, b is your y-intercept. Now m is what we call a rate of change, like how much or whatever. Okay, so we're going to set this up. Now we know there's a total of 331 students. We know we have 6 buses. So we're going to label the number of students in each bus X plus 7 more kids that drove in cars or rode in cars. Okay, so does that make sense? 6 buses. We don't know how many kids are in each bus. And then 7 kids rode in a car for a total of 331. Okay? Now you have to solve for X because you're trying to figure out how many kids actually rode in each bus. So this goes back to what we've been doing. We just had to set it up from word form. So what do? Subtract 7. So that gives me 6x equals 324. Okay? Now what? Divide by 6. And I get x equals what? 54? Yeah. So what does that 54 really mean? 54 buses? How many kids were on each bus? So you had 54 kids total on each bus. Now, if you're at that point where you're like, well, I don't know if that's right or wrong, go 54 times 6. So that's 24, 32, 324 kids. And then there were 7 kids that rode the car, so you add 7 kids. And does this total match up with that total? Yeah. Okay? Pretty simple. Okay? Okay, so let's look at number 2. It says Aaliyah had $24 to spend on 7 pencils. Those are expensive pencils. Okay, after buying them, she had $10. How much did she spend on each, or how much did each pencil cost? Okay, so how much does she have total? 24. So that's what you're going to write equals 24. So she wanted 7 pencils. We don't know how much each pencil costs, so we're going to use that as X. And then she had $10 left over. So we're going to say plus 10. Okay? So, draw my line. What do I do from here? Subtract 10. So 7x equals minus 2. 14. Then divide by 7. And you get x equals 2. So each pencil cost what? $2. That's an expensive pencil. Okay? Okay, I want you to try number 3. I want you to try number 3, and then we will compare. Okay, so let's look. It says you bought a magazine. What does a magazine mean? 1. So make sure you understand. A magazine is 1 magazine for $5 and 4 erasers. You spent a total of $25. So obviously it's going to equal 25. how much did each eraser cost? So how is this part over here going to look? 5 plus 4x. Perfect. Okay, so subtract 5. So then you get 4x equals 20. Then, good, divide by 4. You get x equals 5. So erasers are $5 a piece. An expensive eraser. Okay. Okay, so number 4 says Maria bought 7 boxes. A week later, half of all her boxes were destroyed in a fire. There are now only 22 boxes left. Okay, how many boxes did she have to start? Okay, so this one's a little tricky. Okay, so how many does she have now? 22, so we're going to say equals 22. Okay, so she bought 7 boxes, so we're going to say bought plus 7 because she bought 7. It says a week later, half of all of her boxes were destroyed in the fire. So, if you think about it, do we know how much she had in the beginning, total? So let's put an X down. So, look at it this way. This was her original or total in the beginning. She bought 7 of them, but then all of a sudden, she lost half of them. So you got to put that in parentheses. Does that make sense? Okay. So, what are you going to do here? Distribute. So you got to draw the claw. So 1/2 times x. 1/2 x. 1/2 times 7. You can put this in decimal form if you want. 3.5 equals 22. Now, what do? Subtract 3.5. So you get 1/2 x equals 18.5. Yes? Okay. 18.5. Okay, we're going to divide by 1/2 to each side. And I get x equals what? 37. So what does that 37 mean? Yeah, there you go. How many boxes she originally had? Okay, so she bought 7 after that, lost half of them. She ended up with 22. So 37 plus 7 is what? 37 plus 7? 44. Divide that by 2. 22. Does that match up? There you go. Okay. Okay, so number 5 says Imani spent half of her weekly allowance playing mini golf. To earn more money, her parents let her wash the car for $4. What is her weekly allowance if she ended with $12? So obviously, it's going to equal 12, right? Okay, so they let her wash the car. So she got $4 out of it. Now, do we know what her original amount she had? No, so we're going to use X. And then obviously, we got to work on that half right there. So she had spent half of it on mini golf, right? Okay, so distribute. So you got 1/2. I'm going to just use 0.5x plus 2 equals 12. Subtract 2. So you get 0.5 equals 10. Or 0.5x equals 10 divided by 0.5. And you get x equals 2. What's 10 divided by 0.5? Or 10 divided by 1/2? 20. So she had $20 in the beginning. Okay. Alright, let's go down to number 6. Actually, let's skip over to the back. I like these problems a lot better than I do those front problems. Okay, now these problems are all about perimeter. Okay, so how do you find perimeter of any shape? Add up all the sides. Okay, now if there's not a picture, what should you think you do? Draw a picture. So if you get a perimeter problem, and you're going to on the test Wednesday, you're going to get perimeter problems. If there's not a picture, you should draw the picture of that shape so you have something to go off of. Okay? So it says the length of a rectangle is 3 inches more than the width. Okay? Find the length if the perimeter of the rectangle is 98. So they're already saying it equals 98 in perimeter. Now we got a label. Okay? Now here's where you got to figure out what is what. Okay? So first of all, let's look at our width, which is this left side right here. Do we know what our width is? Does it tell you flat out what is your width? No. So if no, I'm going to use x. Now obviously if it tells you what the width is, you write the width down. Now it says the length is 3 inches more than the width. So obviously we know 3, right? So we can write 3 down. And then we got more than means plus. And then what do we label our width? X. So we got 3 plus x. So it looks like that. So now we figure out perimeter. Now what I like to do is I like to label every side so that I can actually see everything. Now some people, they can see just 2 things and call it good. And they know, not me. So now let's start adding up all our stuff. X plus x plus x plus x. 4x. And then 3 plus 3 plus 6. So there we go. We have 4x plus 6 equals 98. Now, subtract 6. So you get 4x equals 92. Divide by 4. And you get x equals 23. Now, look at what it's asking. Go back to the problem. It says find the length. Okay, so is this 23 my length? No, that's just my x. It just says x equals. So if you go back, here's your length right here. This side right there is your length. So I'm going to take that 23 and plug it back into this x right here. So basically I get this. 3 plus 23. 26. So my length is 26. Does that make sense? Plugging it back in? Yes? No? We good with that? Yeah. Okay. Number 2. It says the length of the rectangle is 3 times the width. If the perimeter is 48, find the length and the width. So obviously it's going to equal 48 in the end. Now let's look. What is our width? Do we know what our width is? X. Okay. And our length is 3 times the width. 3 times x, or just 3x. So I'm going to go ahead and label this. So now, add up all our sides. 3 plus 1 plus 3 plus 1. 4 and 4 give me 8x. So get that right there. Divide by 8 to each side. And you get x equals 6, right? Yes, no? Okay, so there's my x. Now, what's my width? If I took that 6 and plug it back into the x on my width, what's my width? It's just 6. Now, what's my length? 3 times x. 18. Perfect. So all you're doing is just taking this 6 right here and plugging it back into these x's right there. And since it asks for both of them, you have to give both answers, width and length. Okay? Alright, let's look at number 3. Okay, it says the length of 4 sides of a trapezoid are shown below. It says the parallel bases have lengths of x and 2x plus 1. Well, where do you think the x is going to go? On what? It says the parallel bases. So what's parallel mean? Lines that never cross. So this is your x, and this is your 2x plus 1. And then it says both legs have lengths of 2x minus 3. If the perimeter of the trapezoid is 30 centimeters, so it equals 30, find the length of each side of the trapezoid. So we want to know all sides. Okay? So, yes? Yeah, that's just an egg, sorry. Right there. Okay, so add up all your sides. So let's start with 2x plus 2x plus 2x plus x. 7x. Okay, then I got negative 3 minus 3. Negative 6 plus 1. Negative 5. Okay, so now I draw my line. What do I do from here? Add 5 to each side. Perfect. So I get 7x equals 35. Divide by 7. I get x equals 5. Okay, so that's my x. So let's talk, let's go top base. And then bottom base. And then legs. Okay, so top base. If I plugged that x back in, what would be my top base? Whoa. If I took this 5 and plugged it into this top base right here, it would be just be 5. Now if I took that 5 and plugged it into this x on the bottom base, 2 times 5 plus 1, 11. Then if since they're both the same leg or the same length, plug it into that x, so 2 times 5, 10 minus 3, 7. So there is your lengths of each. Okay? Alright, so I want you to do number 4. Number 4 is a little tricky. Now you can label whatever side you want with those dimensions. Okay, but then it says what is the shortest side. So think about when it asks for the shortest side, what kind of number is it looking for? Smallest number, biggest number, medium number? The smallest number. Okay? So go ahead and do number 4 real fast, and then we'll compare. Okay, so let's label. Okay, so I'm going to label this 2x plus 7, 4x minus 3, and 3x minus 11. Okay, and it equals 119 in the end as the perimeter. So now let's add up our x's. 2x plus 4x plus 3x. 9x. 7 minus 3 would be 4 minus 11. Negative 7. Okay, draw my line. What do I do? Add 7. Perfect. So I get 9x equals 126. Perfect. Divide by 9. I get x equals 14. Okay, so that's my x. So let's just do side 1. We'll say side 1 is this side, this is 2, this is 3. Okay, side 1. So if I take 2 times 14, right here, 2 times 14, 28 plus 7, 35. Okay, side 2. 4 times 14, which would be 56, right? Minus 3, 53. And then side 3. 3 times 14 should be 42, right? Minus 11, 31. Okay, so out of these, which one is our shortest side?
Side 3.
Side 3, at 31. Okay, so technically, if you did it off of an image, if I went and erased this side would actually be side 3, this side would be side 2, and this side would be side 1. If you just went off the image, right? Okay. Alright, so far, okay. I mean, all it is setting up the equation, but still solving. Still the same method. Okay?